Check it. Whether it's your first time or you need a retreat, this is your place for video games and fresh beats. LB and me, last benevolence and Kimmy and me. In my senior year of high school, I had this civics teacher that was a big-time gamer. And even though we both shared this passion for gaming, he had this opinion that at the time I thought was completely strange. I don't remember much about that day when I found out, but what I do recall was the barrage of insults hurled at my favorite gaming mascot of all time, Sonic the Hedgehog. I can still see that big ugly smug grin he had on his face. You know, the one when your boy from the hood is about to clown on you with the greatest roast session of all time during class while surrounded by classmates ready to point and laugh at you? Yeah, that one. And I wasn't even embarrassed. I was just too confused. Did I miss something? Who didn't like Sonic? That was the first time that I ever heard someone express that Sonic 2 was one of the greatest games of all time, but Sonic just never worked in 3D. What? From then on, I can thank the internet for discovering that Sonic fans have been very mixed on how they feel about the series for a long time, and it actually seemed popular to criticize Sonic games, even hate on them when given the chance. Fans like to act like white knights and diss on IGN for that whole game scoop thing that happened back in 2016 when they were like,
Sonic was never good.
Yeah, it was a 25-year lie.
Yes. Sonic was never good. If you disagree, you can call the cops.
Also, the reason is they all want to have sex with Big the Cat.
And Sonic 1 is a non-issue. It's a terrible game. Sonic 2, I think, and Sonic and Knuckles have redeemable aspects. Within 5 years of those games, you could play Sonic 2 and you could play Super Mario World in the same afternoon, and you realize which one aged better.
But as a longtime Sonic fan, I think that junk was our fault. We haven't been too nice to Sonic games. Let's be honest. Why would these professional game journalists have the audacity to even come out with such a hot take on a video about 2 new Sonic games coming out? They perfectly knew that even Sonic fans roasted on Sonic just like my civics teacher did back in the day.
Game award goes to Genshin Impact.
And I don't think it's changed that much. I still see fans trying to hand out review scores to Sonic games before they even come out.
I still feel like I'm in the same area. I'm still in that 6 to 7 out of 10 area. I think I've written off 8 completely now. Yeah, I feel like I had before, but like after playing it, I feel like I've written off 8 completely. Even 7.5 would be pushing it, you know.
That's probably why these bigwigs in the gaming industry act like Sonic doesn't matter much. You got Mr. Jeff Keighley over here like,
The Year of Shadow, right? A movie coming in December too. Exciting stuff. All right.
By contrast, whenever a Super Mario game is announced, Nintendo reveals a short clip of him running and hopping around for a few seconds like we haven't seen this before, and then people just start losing it like, but whenever a Sonic game gets revealed, everyone all of a sudden becomes industry experts and video game design scientists, nitpicking at the minute details of his animations and their perceived physics.
The running's just, it seems still very stiff.
Dude, it's a blue hedgehog that runs really fast. Why does this have to be so complicated? Now, of course, everyone's entitled to their opinions, and criticism is perfectly fine. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with pointing out what you don't like or making suggestions for the series to improve, but going into every release with the kind of negative energy and cynicism like we have been isn't really helping the series. Saying stuff like, I'm a longtime fan and this comes from a place of love, is a cop-out, especially when the devs themselves have been driven to the point where they almost had to stop making Sonic games because their last major game was officially quoted as being their last chance with the series. And with the industry in the state it currently is in, who knows who would have lost their jobs because of it. If anybody feels upset out there about this video or what I'm saying, please keep in mind that it's not my intent to make anyone mad or angry. I'm not trying to diss anyone out there. But I think that there are those in the fan base that could probably take some criticism here, right? I've been thinking about this video for a long time. years even. And with that, I've given a lot of thought as to how to tackle the subject. I wanted to try to go for the most simple point possible. I want to focus on the one thing that separates Sonic from other platformers. And I'm even going to drive the needle further by explaining, even from a game developer's perspective, why his games are of superlative creative design. When Sonic was first created, Yuji Naka, the lead creator and programmer of Sonic, made it very clear what Sonic was about. And ironically, the subject has become something of a meme in pop video game culture.
Not another speeding ticket. I'll fight it in court, but I don't think they're gonna accept gotta go fast as a medical condition.
Sonic is about speed. I think even the developer Sonic team sometimes forgets that from time to time. When I was a kid playing Sonic 1, 2, and 3, I even played at a slower pace and never thought of the games as being fast. However, as I grew to learn more about Sonic as a character through cartoons and comics, it was the speed aspect that kept me around as a fan, which in turn would drive me to practice and improve my skills with the games. See, the reason why I enjoy Sonic games isn't because I like to take my sweet time to explore the stages and all the routes and find collectibles and MacGuffins and stuff. I play Sonic games to move from one end of the stage to the other as quickly as freaking possible. I'm here for the speed. And you know what? That's something that only Sonic does best. You don't need multiple pathways and large open spaces to have fun in a Sonic game. And if you feel you do, you kinda miss the point. Yuji Naka developed Sonic based on speedrunning linear Super Mario Bros. Stages.
I liken this to Super Mario Brothers that I had played many times. To play Mario from this point to this point took 30 seconds, but if I can go through the same place in 10 seconds, your skill increases. My desire was to play games much faster and have a better sense of accomplishment.
And since then, yeah, we've gotten non-linear pathways and things of the sort to give players with the skills options to choose more efficient paths. But let's not forget that some of the greatest and most memorable stages of all time were kind of linear. Green Hill Zone, Sky Sanctuary Zone, Emerald Coast, City Escape, Windmill Isle. These stages were mostly linear, with some having only slight deviations off of the main path. Yet fans have come to recognize and love them. It takes skill, repetition, and memorization to master Sonic stages and pull off the kind of platforming chops that make you feel like you're actually running through these environments at the speed of light. The ball physics back in the first games on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive were a means to an end to effectively achieve this kind of speed, but the more recent games have opted for what fans call the boost formula, which originated from the Nintendo DS title released back in 2005 called Sonic Rush. And I think this NOS-style boost from these newer Sonic games have achieved this quite well. The only game franchise that I can think of that effectively allows you to blast through stages at breakneck speeds on foot like this is Sonic. Never mind that there's platforming and obstacles along the way to dodge and avoid as you do this. You can only feel like your feet are about to burst into flames in a Sonic game. There have been other speedy platformers as well, but only Sonic has done this kind of speed, making it effectively work and fun to play. I have a couple of theories as to why people diss Sonic games, and as a game developer myself, I've come to learn that feedback from fans usually points to underlying issues indirectly. It's normal for a fan to give their own solution to a perceived problem when there's actually something else at play that's causing them to feel that there's an issue. For example, someone may say that a character's controls feel slippery or inaccurate, when really it's just a matter of adjusting animations. Someone might say a game feels repetitive when it really just needs better pacing. I think the problem that so-called fans of Sonic and general haters of Sonic have is quite similar. They may try to pinpoint what the problem is in every game, but whenever they do, they end up giving solutions that Sonic Team takes into consideration, only to end up getting serious flack for it later on when implementing these so-called solutions. Look at Sonic Frontiers, for example. After getting feedback from fans over the course of a year, Sonic Team put out a completely free, expansion-worthy update to the game, which was additional to 2 other free major updates. And it addressed 2 of the biggest complaints that fans had, among others, namely the lack of physics-based platforming that focuses on momentum and how the game was just too easy. Try and guess how the fans responded. They hated the update, mainly because, get this, the in-game content was too difficult.
I can't believe this!
I've noticed that people who tend not to like or care for Sonic games either have reasons that have nothing to do with the gameplay, or they just don't like the games because they're not good at them, which is totally fair. Why play something you're not good at? Because it's supposed to be a family-friendly franchise, no one's gonna treat Sonic like Dark Souls or Elden Ring and say, yeah, this is meant to be difficult, just because it's fast. But I think there's merit in accepting that speedy gameplay just isn't for everyone, and we should instead say that rather than concluding that Sonic just sucks. Even my wife Kim gets tired of seeing journalists show off Sonic footage because it's frustrating to watch gameplay from what seems to be confused idiots not knowing what the heck they're doing in the game. To everyone's credit though, I think Sonic Team shares the blame, because they should know better than to take fan solutions verbatim. They have the experience building Sonic games. I remember in my early days of game development, I tried my own hand at making a Sonic fan game in 3D. And even with the framework that handled the physics for me and the main gameplay features, it was still hard. Hours turned into days and days turned into weeks just making small sections of stages. And when I say small, I mean like linear sections that only took up less than a minute, sometimes mere seconds of gameplay. Getting the physics to work and interact with the environments, testing, enemy placements, functioning loops and camera angles, this stuff was intense, man. But the worst problem that I ran into was one I never considered as a fan of Sonic games just by playing them. Distance. One thing I've learned about good game design is that it's based on the player's abilities, and how these are complemented by the environments they interact with. Sonic is fast, so he covers an incredible amount of distance in a short amount of time, something that doesn't even cross one's mind while playing. I've never once seen someone review a Sonic game or even play one and give any credit to the devs for fitting these monstrous environments into 3 minutes of gameplay while making it all work and flow so well. And all of that functions well on launch. No crazy day one patches or game-breaking glitches. Instead of being bashed on for not having ball physics or for not feeling like Sonic 2 in 3D, we should probably give credit to the hard-working devs that ship functional games on day one without the need to connect to a server or the need to rely on crummy live service models to buy dinner. While everyone's stuck on following their favorite YouTubers and journalists and dissing Sonic games, I'm over here enjoying unique gameplay elements that I haven't found so far in other games and their experiences. And that goes back to the point I've mentioned before in another video about quality games. It's about personal opinion rather than comparison.
Like, I let myself be deluded by people like Egoraptor and ProJared that Sonic Adventure 2 was bad.
Sonic is dope, and he always was dope.
I just juice them and reduce them.
I don't need any influencer, industry guy, or whatever to tell me otherwise, because I played the games for myself and enjoyed them immensely for what they were meant to be. And ultimately, I think that's the point. Back in the day when Sonic Adventure came out, everyone I knew loved it. Some of us even more so than Super Mario 64. But it wasn't until after the internet became more mainstream that I began to see folks say that Sonic Adventure was a terrible game. To me, and even my brother, who isn't really a Sonic fan, Sonic Adventure was and is always going to be a classic. Sure, there were some blunders, but so were there for Mario. Sonic didn't have a rough transition into 3D, he had a rough transition into the age of the internet. There is no other franchise that captures the speed and essence of a Sonic game. You might say, oh sure, there's this indie game or that indie game, but they never quite catch the velocity or the intensity of running at the speed of light like Sonic does. And if they do capture similar gameplay in a way that's fun, it always feels like they're missing something. But maybe that's just another video for another time.